Hello everyone and welcome to my iPhone photography class. My name is Sergey and I'm a photographer. Now, this was the first business that I actually started online. It was taking pictures with my camera. Here is a professional camera that I usually use to take pictures with. But for this class, I'm going to be retiring my professional camera and actually using the iPhone to take amazing pictures. The whole purpose of this class is to teach you how to take amazing pictures using a simple phone. The one that I'm going to be speaking about is the iPhone 5S. It is one that actually been retired, so you don't need a fancy iPhone to take amazing pictures. It's not the latest and it's not the greatest one that they have. In fact, this is a few years old iPhone. And yes, you can take amazing pictures with your iPhone. It doesn't need to be the latest and the best one. And in this class, I'm going to be showing you how you can take amazing pictures using a simple camera that is available on your phone. So, what is your excuse? There is no excuse that you have not to take amazing pictures in today's world. With a smartphone and with your iPhone. How to be a great, amazing photographer and you no longer need a DSLR to be one. Well, we have something that has been invented. It is called a smartphone, or in this case, this is the iPhone. You don't need an iPhone to take amazing pictures. You just need any kind of camera. And a smartphone just makes it so much more easier for you to take pictures. So do you need to go to school to become an amazing photographer? Do you need some formal education to be one? Neither one is the case. In fact, I'm a second generation photographer. Well, my grandpa was a photographer and I myself is a photographer as well. But a lot of it has nothing to do with knowing somebody who was a photographer. In fact, my grandpa was just too young to pass the art to me. Everything that I learned about photography happened when he just gave me a DSLR camera. And then I just started shooting. The true case is the only thing you really need to take amazing pictures is to have something that is otherwise known as a camera. By having a camera on you at all times, now you can take amazing pictures at any given time by just pressing the camera button. A lot of it has to do with being in the right place at the right time. It also has to do with knowing the equipment and be able to take a picture. With this, there is not much you need to know to do in order for you to know the equipment. The only thing you have to do is aim and take a picture. With the iPhone, it makes it so much more simple. In fact, you have no excuse. All you need to do is just shoot a lot of pictures. And some of the greatest photographers out there, what is their secret? Well, I can tell you because I'm one of them. It is the follows. You just need to go ahead and shoot thousands of images. The more you shoot, the better you get at the art of photography. It is really a numbers game. But the better you do it, the more you do it, with practice comes perfection. And this is very important because instead of having 10 great images out of 100, you're gonna have 50, 70, 80 to maybe 90 great pictures out of 100 pictures that you take. So amateurs, the ones that makes the big difference between amateurs and professionals. Amateurs take very few pictures. They go ahead and try to take the perfect picture and they press on it. And that's it. They think they had the perfect image. And then when they don't, they just get super frustrated. Well, you don't want to be an amateur, you want to be a professional. To be a professional, you have to shoot as many pictures as you want and you don't have to be afraid of failure. The biggest barrier and stopping you from becoming a great photographer is you. Because if you are not snapping images and not looking at the pictures and learning from your mistakes, you are not progressing to the next level of photography. Take your pictures and don't care about the results. Don't listen to all those special rules of photography. Those rules are going to restrict you. They're going to be making you, well, I have to do this in a certain way. I have to make sure it is framed, rule of thirds, all those little rules and things. It's all keeping you away from achieving greatness in photography. All those rules you can learn later on. You don't have to apply them. The biggest thing about this is learning your own art. learning how you can take amazing pictures, experimenting with what you're doing. Once you get so much good at a specific style, evolve, make the style better and better and better. Once you get great results and amazing pictures, you will understand that all your effort paid off. But this actually just happened because you decided to start focusing on becoming a great photographer. So let's start with pet photography. Specifically, when you take pictures of pets, it is always staged and you have to be there in the right time, in the right place to take a picture. So here is Max the pug looking at something outside. And then I had to discover what he was looking at, and I found out it was actually a beautiful frog. So I took one picture and I decided to get even closer. Took another snapshot. Of course, there is another way to get closer with the phone. It's just to zoom in into the picture, and that's exactly what I did. As I took a picture horizontally with the phone, you can also take a picture vertically as well, and I did just that. The vertical picture came out so much better than the horizontal one. So you should always experiment and see which is the best way to take a picture of whatever animal is over there. And this one came out to be so much better. As you can see, the more I zoomed in and the more I used different angles, the better the picture actually came out, and it looked so much more natural and more beautiful. With frogs or other kind of animals, you only have a few seconds to take the picture before the animal goes away and continues within his journey. Here is Max. He is waiting for the frog to keep on crossing the road. The next thing that I start to take pictures of, and since we're already in the mood for taking pictures, is Max the pug. So I took multiple images of him. Here is some selfies of him and me, and the focus was actually the dog himself. Here he is, smiling, or trying to smile, looking at the camera. He was already in the mood for pictures. This one came out great as well. This one came out not so good, a bit blurry. Let's delete that one. Sometimes, and even professionals don't take the best kind of images. Here I took multiple pictures of him just looking at something out there, and they did look kind of great. After I took a lot of different pictures of Max, I decided, let's go ahead and take Max and stage him and take pictures of him inside the studio. Are you ready, Max, to go and get your picture taking? He seems to be super ready. Here he is. I brought him inside the studio. You can see the whole white background right there and super bright light. Here he is looking right at the camera itself, and it is a little bit blurry. So this is not perfect. You have to delete that image. This one came out pretty good. You can see the picture itself has a lot of very nice light, and it also, the details of it are just stunning. One thing you have to remember when you take pictures of the phone itself is just to press your finger and start to focus on the area that you want to focus on, including the light itself is going to become so much more brighter if you just press in the right location. So pressing on the bottom sometimes will make everything so much more brighter, and it did in this specific staged picture. Here is another one, and this one I use different kind of filter to make it look a lot better. I'm not a big believer in post-editing the pictures. I'm pretty much into capturing the exact moment, and later on you always have time to go ahead and edit the image itself. But my feeling is you should always take beautiful pictures as you see them, versus just taking pictures and trying to make them much better after you edit them up. As you can see right here, it is a lot more lighter than it should be, but at the same time it came out just amazing because of the way he looks at exactly on the side, and it just seems to look so much more natural and good. In this specific one it's a little bit too dark, but it still came out very well because of the staged light and everything. Now I could have used this picture and I took the same exact one with the light shining right at him on his face. That could have worked as well, but I didn't want to actually do that. Instead, I just kept on focusing and using my camera as the main object. And with that being said, by using your camera as the main object and just focusing on taking multiple beautiful pictures, so this picture sequence came out very well, and he came out looking great in almost every single image. Here's another one that just edited just a bit. So the things that you have to learn about, and when you're doing pictures of an animal, especially a dog or a pug, keep him occupied, give him maybe a treat, pet him, and then just put him right there. And my dog would not mind. He doesn't care. He would just sit there and wait until I'm done taking picture of him. He is very photogenic and he enjoys having his picture actually taken. So let this be a lesson for you in still image pet photography. Thank you so much for enrolling and being a part of this class. For this course and for other photography classes that I teach, I have created a group called the Creative Photography Group. In this group you can share your own images and post them over there. For other people who are also part of this class, they can critique it and you can critique other pictures as well. And if I like any pictures, I can critique it for you too. All you have to do is to join the group and post your images up. I want to see what kind of images that you've been able to take with your iPhone. So let's talk about iPhone versus a DSLR. Which is better and the disadvantages and advantages of both of them. Let's first get started with the phone itself. The phone is great because it is first of all compact size, very small, fits in your pocket. Also, it is okay, it's not as durable as a DSLR, but if you drop it and you have a special case to it, it's gonna protect it. In fact, some of the new iPhones are so great that they're almost indestructible. A few other things about the phone is that because it is a very compact size, you can also take it to places you can't take a DSLR before. And people are not paying as much attention when you're taking pictures with them with the phone versus an actual camera. Another thing about the iPhone itself is that some of it could be waterproof and you can do 3D pictures for that, but this has to be Model 7 and up. This one, if you wanted to make it waterproof, you have to have an external case that is water resistant and waterproof. A few other things that makes the actual phone so much better is that you have this on you at all times. So you have no excuse not to take great pictures. But can you do actual wedding photography with your phone? No, you can't, for a few simple reasons. With a DSLR, you can do things that you can't do with the phone. Rapid pictures by pressing on this button will take you multiple shots with sports and action figure photography. And anything that is moving, wildlife, nature, this is so much more better. A few other things about this is that you can have interchangeable lenses. So you can put a lens that is f1.4 stop and lets you do amazing low light photography, and you can't do this with the phone. Also, with this specific camera, you can do a few other things as well here. And you can go ahead and change the memory. By changing the memory, you have potentially unlimited memory capability. Also, this is built just for one thing, photography, and it does it well. On the other hand, the iPhone itself is jack of all trades and a master of none. So this is not really a photography tool. It is really a phone, and anything else is just a bonus in between. So can you take wedding pictures with the phone itself? You could try, but you will never have the capacity and the capabilities of an actual DSLR camera. In fact, if you want professional shots, you would need an external flash right on this camera, because it's gonna be able to take pictures in every kind of light, and by putting a low light lens with it as well, you can do pictures in any kind of condition. And with an iPhone itself, you can't do that. So the phone itself is good as a photography tool. But if you want to go pro and professional, you need the real thing. But in most cases, the phone itself is something you can get started taking amazing pictures. You don't need a DSLR camera to take everyday pictures, portraits, and a lot of things. So the phone itself I recommend for you to get started with photography. And then once you get very good at this, it is time for you to graduate and move on to this. Let's talk about the evolution of photography. Specifically, how it went from something that is a DSLR film camera. This is what we call an ancient film camera. And it was composed of a few things that you had to buy in order to take pictures. One of them was actually film. You had the film itself that went in here. It also had very hard to actually get into, and there was a battery right inside to power it up. Some of the really old ancient cameras don't even have batteries. You could just snap pictures. This specific one used an actual film, and unless you developed the actual film, you wouldn't know if the picture came out well or not. Plus you had to pay for every single film that you developed, and this became a very super expensive hobby. This is a very simple focus and take a picture camera. There is no any controls over here. This specific one was more about just take the picture. There was a few controls that you can set on this specific camera, but there was not as much as actually existed in some other kind of cameras. Talking about different cameras, they came out with something like a snap camera. This is a snap kind of a camera, also a film camera. You put the film in here, you close it up, you put the battery in there, and you start to take pictures. This was a little bit more smaller than that other camera I showed you, because it did all the work for you. All you had to do is just zoom in, zoom out, and take a picture. But this is not a DSLR camera. This is just a camera that gets you the pictures done. Because of the computer in here, it took really good pictures for what it was. It was very sophisticated for the time when this camera came out. On the other hand, the camera such as this took even better pictures because you can remove the lens and you can put any lens you actually want in this camera. And this is where the creative photography comes along. By having a lens, DSLR cameras are much more better at taking better images, which is this one here. Problem with DSLR cameras is that they have a mirror inside of them, and because of this mirror they are super heavy, and also because of that it restricts with the focus and everything else in between. But this was in the age before digital camera. In fact, my first really good, and I'm talking about really good DSLR, was this simple level camera right here, the Canon. This is also a 35mm camera DSLR, but it had a much more sophisticated engine to this one. So when I took pictures with this one, I got so much better pictures. But over here, we have a lot more control, a lot more than any other camera gave at that specific time. And yet, it had the same exact part, it wasn't digital. With digital cameras, everything really changed. With digital cameras, everything changed. And now the world is in your hands. Not only you can see everything with this selfie screen right here, you can also see what you're taking a picture of, and now you can take thousands of images and you don't have to pay for them. You have to pay for a shot, and now you no longer do. So this used to be an excuse that hold a lot of people back. It used to be an expensive hobby. No longer this is the case. Those camera bodies are now super cheap. You can find a used camera body, not the latest one, and it really doesn't matter which kind of camera body that you actually buy. The biggest focus now is on the actual lens. But this is no longer even required to take pictures. In fact, all you really need is this, is the iPhone. because it can take almost as sophisticated camera as an actual DSLR. But there is slight differences between the two and why DSLR still is the king here. This one can take multiple high-frequency pictures at the same exact time. You can switch lenses over here, and you can't switch lenses over with the iPhone. Also, this better at motion photography and flash photography as well. Although the iPhone camera can take amazing pictures, it is still doesn't replace the DSLR camera. But regardless, a camera is a camera. When you take a picture, doesn't matter what kind of camera you actually have, as long as you have a camera and you take the picture of what you see with your eyes. Let's talk about focusing on the image. And the most important thing about taking pictures with a phone is the following. 100% of your focus is what you see with your own eyes. It is not about taking pictures. What I like about the phone itself is that it is one of the simplest things that you can use to take a picture with. Before the phone, what I love to use is a sophisticated camera. But this is holding back a lot of people from taking pictures. The problem with a camera such as this, there are so many different settings. There is the zoom in and out, all those different functions. A lot of times you're focused more on taking the picture and focus more on taking the perfect picture. There is no such thing, first of all, as a perfect picture. And this is something that's holding back a lot of people. Instead of taking the picture, they are focused on everything that has to do with the manual aspects of getting all the settings and everything else correctly. So by putting aside your actually real camera, you have the freedom now of taking just pictures and not caring what is the results. This is the first step for you to set yourself free from actually being able to get judged by the pictures that you take. Don't think that you have to take the most amazing picture. It doesn't matter what kind of image that you're going to be taking.
Any ideas?
And the more images you take, the better you will get at taking pictures. A long time ago, there was the 35mm camera. When you took pictures with a 35mm camera, you had to pay for every single picture that you take. And you couldn't see what you were taking as well. So everything was about getting controlled, getting the perfect image. But today's world, with digital photography, the world is your freedom. You can take as many pictures as you want. And with the iPhone, there is so much storage space over here. You can take thousands of pictures as well. So there is no excuse for you anymore. Just hold down to the phone, aim at what you want to take a picture, press on take a picture, and that's it. About focusing and getting the perfect image, there is a lot less emphasis now on that. The most emphasis right now is on getting used to taking pictures and taking any picture that you can. The more pictures you take, the better you get at it, the more comfortable you get at taking pictures. And having the phone with you at all times now, you have no excuse. You should always be busy snapping images. Press on settings, and now you have to scroll all the way down where it says camera. So as we are scrolling down, we're moving where it says the camera function. Press on camera, and now we're going to be turning on a few features for us to use. The most important is the grid, and that's going to be set on. Then the preserve setting, we have a camera mode that we are going to be turning on, and that's going to preserve the last setting that we actually used. Also, turn on your live photo on, filter on, and if you don't have the HDR on, keep normal photo on as well. And this actually finishes all the settings that you have to turn on. So let's get started with iPhone photography. The first thing you need to do is to drag your camera
all the way to the bottom. Just hold it until you see those axes over here, and just move the camera all the way to the bottom menu. Now you have this shortcut you can always use, and it doesn't matter where you are in the different kind of windows that you have, the camera itself always going to stay here. Another option for you is to move all the way here your hand and move it like this, like that. You have this come out right here, and in this menu all you have to do is just to press on the camera, and voila, you have the camera shortcut right here. Let's get started learning a few basics about iPhone photography. The first thing you want to do is the flash. Press on the flash itself just once, and you have this small menu right here that pops up, and it gives you on and off option. You should always have this on, and you see the flash right here. So now when you take a picture, the flash is going to automatically be turned on for the picture. Next thing is HDR. Right now it's off. You should also have this HDR on. Let's take a picture and see what happens with the HDR on. And I just took a picture, and now you can see it on, and it takes multiple pictures for you, but there's kind of a little bit of a different light to them. This is good because it takes two pictures for you with different kind of lighting to them. This one is kind of dark, this one is kind of light, and you have your option of deciding which one is the best one for you. Next thing is this right here. This is live image. If you turn it off, it actually will make the picture much faster. As you press on it, it's going to take the picture. If you turn it on, it's actually going to take the picture before you press on the photo, which actually means A, it uses more battery power, B, it actually makes a live image. So for animals or pets, live photo makes your pictures come to life. I don't suggest this in most cases because it does drain your memory power, because you have a lot more pictures now that you had before, and in fact it takes more pictures and it takes more memory for you, but it does make some pictures very interesting. So they move a little bit, so they're like lifelike, they're like mini videos. I really like this feature actually. Next one here is the timer. Right now it's off, but you can turn it to 3 seconds or 10 seconds. Now you can see the grid as well. The grid itself helps you actually focus whatever thing that you are focusing on. So the grid is very useful too. Let's press on the colorful skin here, and it gives you multiple amount of skins that you can use for what you're taking a picture of. So before you take a picture, you can select the skin you want to use and take the image, and it does it for you. And another one which is kind of cool as well is this one right here. When you press on it, it flips it. It flips it between this actual picture and you yourself. So you can see me right here, and you can take selfies with that as well. But we missed the most important and interesting one, is here on the side of the screen. So we have different kind of choices for us to use. One is the time-lapse, another one is slow motion, we have video, we have photo, we have square, and we have the panoramic mode, which is one of the most awesomest ones. If you want to use the panoramic, all you have to do is to take a picture and just move it continuously in this line. But the ones that we'll be primarily working on, it's going to be just to take photos using your iPhone.
The most important thing about the cell phone is the protection device for it. What I like to use is this particular case that I put my smartphone into it. You gotta protect your smartphone because if it falls down or if it gets wet, it breaks and you can't really use it, and you have to pay a lot of money to replace it. Next thing is the case itself. As you can see, I use a special protection case. You can actually drop this on a pavement and it's just not gonna break. In fact, I dropped it more than once on the pavement itself and nothing happened. This is very important for you to protect your investment because the smartphone is very expensive and an iPhone could cost you around $300 to get a brand new one. And when you're taking a picture, it's very important for you to actually protect your device. This is the number one thing and my suggestion for you. So the first thing you need to do when you're taking a picture is to make sure that the lens in the back, of course, are clean. Some people don't pay attention to it, but after you use the phone a lot, the lens itself could get a little bit dirty. So what you have to do is just clean it up and make sure it doesn't get dirty. This is the number one thing that makes your images from a good image to a bad one. So make sure you do this. The next thing, and this is the biggest mistake people make when they do smartphone photography, they accidentally put their finger or a hand and they close their sensor. So what's going to happen is the image is just going to come out pretty bad, especially if you do it a little bit on the side. You might not even notice it right here that much, and when you take the image, it's going to have a really ugly piece right here of your hand. I mean, your hand is not ugly, but let's put it this way, it's not going to look good in the image itself. So that's the main advice that I have for you when it comes to smartphone photography. Another thing that I do, which is a little different than most people, I even have a screen protector for the camera itself. So keep this in mind when you're taking images. Another thing that you can do and to take amazing pictures with your smartphone is to go to the App Store, find some photo applications and try them out. Some of them have a lot of advanced features you can use, and there is post-processing you can even do after you take the image itself, and you can play around with it. Now I don't really suggest for you to do much playing around with the image once you do take it, because you can always do this after, but take the image right now is more important because what you see right now might not be there later on, and you have to take a lot more images after that. Now another thing with the smartphone camera, and this is a little bit different than most of you know about, is of course if you take the videos themselves, which probably look pretty cool, it's definitely going to eat up a humongous amount of your memory, which means that you might not be able to capture this much, and second of all, it might drain your battery too fast. So what's more important for you, to take amazing images or to take maybe one or two videos and then finish off the battery itself and not be able to take any more pictures? That's why a lot of times I like to use my own handy spare camera instead of the smartphone. But since this course is all about smartphone photography, I highly suggest either having a mobile charger that you can use in your vehicle itself, or a USB charger that you can probably try to charge in a cafe shop or anywhere else that you go. But most likely try not to use the movie feature because it's going to drain your battery too fast. So as you can see right here, we have a humongous tree and we want to take an image of this. What this is actually is, if you can zoom in and look at it, is that the lightning, when it struck, it actually hit this part, and what it actually happened was that it burned part of the tree off, which is kind of cool in a weird sense of way. So if you want to take an image of this particular item, and it is quite big, you want to zoom out. By zooming out, you want to move the camera away from the area itself and then take a picture once you do find that it looks pretty good. Now you want to take all kinds of images here. You want to go zoom in by moving the camera as close as you can to what you're going to be taking the image of, and you want to zoom out as well. So you want to take all kinds of images here because first of all, you have a lot of storage space, and second of all, you don't know which image is going to look the most amazing here. So you gotta experiment with it, and as you can see, the sun came out, so now we are taking another image of this particular location. When it comes for you to take pictures with wildlife and nature photography, you want to know what's in the image itself and what makes it amazing.
So as you can see, there is a lot here that we can take an image from, but our focus will be macro, which is just this particular spot right here. So if this is what we want to take a picture of, we want to make sure that the distance itself is close enough to get the image, but not far enough that it's too far. Sometimes if you close and make it way too close, the camera cannot actually focus on the image itself. It might look like it is focusing on it right now, but when you take the picture and you're going to be comparing, the image might not be focused at all. So the key for you to make a great image is to make sure you zoom a little bit out, and then the focus itself should automatically adjust to it. So there we go, we did it, and we took the image itself. The next thing that you want to do, and let's zoom in a little more, and I want to show you how it refuses to actually focus on something that's way too close. But if you zoom a little bit more out, you see it gets back to focus. Make sure you press on it to make sure it actually focuses on the image itself, and then you take the picture. Now when you take a picture, don't just take one image of everything that you get. Make sure you take a few of them, because this way, if you do mess up once, if you take a few of them, you're making sure you don't mess up again. And with a lot of images, it's less likely that you will mess up on the image that you're taking. So let's go ahead and use a beanie for iPhone photography. So once you line up and you want to take a picture of your actual subject, you can use two different kind of beanies. One of which I suggest for you to actually use is the most natural, and this is actually to remove humidity from the air. It can also be used as a beanie to put your camera on. The reason why you want to use something like this, it is to stabilize your camera and to take pictures, and it also doubles as a dehumidifier. A lot of photographers like to use an actual beanie instead, but this one is very handy too. Let's go ahead and put an actual beanie. This is a beanie that I bought before. The beanie itself is a little bit better for this use. Once you stabilize and you put it exactly how you want to take the picture, it actually works kind of like a tripod. Another thing you can actually do is use an actual selfie stick. But with this one, all you need is to apply some pressure to it. Make sure your lens is not occupied by the side of the beanie itself. So you want to make sure that the lens itself is pointing up, not actually pointing down like this. It's very likely that you're going to get some beanie inside the picture. Once you set up the image how it's supposed to actually look like, it actually works in two ways. One, it stabilizes the image. Two, it prevents camera shake on hard surfaces as well. So then, there we go. Focus on the image. Put the image in the way that you want it to put, and snap the picture. So let's talk about taking pictures and snapping images and using different kind of light sources for it. So as you can see here, it's a bit too dark on the top, and because of that we're going to be using something known as using an external light to brighten up this image. So we have an external light source here. I'm going to be turning it on. As you can see, if I'm turning it on from the top, the shade totally varies depending where I put it in. If I put it from the side, this is how it looks like, but there is a little bit too dark on the side of the screen. Instead, if I move it all the way to the top, if I move it a little bit in the back, it doesn't look as good. But being a little bit on the top and tilting it, it makes the image look amazing. And now I moved it a little bit to the side as well. Now the picture looks even better. Because we have a white on white here with one minifigure, you have to be super careful with the light not being overexposed for this image. There is of course another choice for us to do. It is to put the light source all the way on the bottom and then put the minifigures right on top of the light source, and that does give it an amazing looking effect. Really amazing. You can see it right here. Now, as we are going to zoom in, when we activate this, it's also going to activate the flash. So first of all, make sure you're lining up exactly how you want to take a picture of, and press on snap the image. Make sure this is always on, and sometimes it will turn itself off. So make sure you turn it on before you do this. Take a picture. Now let's preview and see how it actually went. Make sure with complicated pictures such as this, you always preview and check the results. See, without the flash, it didn't come out as good. With the flash, it came out so much better. Now let's keep looking. And as you snap through it and look at the different images, with the live image, you can see a little bit of a preview how the image actually looked like. So I do like having the live image in. Now the raw power on was just turned on. The reason for that is that all those lights and take pictures, it does stain on your battery, especially when you're using the live photo mode. So a power bank charger is going to be very helpful for you. Then you can also see some of my images and how the lights actually change when I use a different kind of external light from different directions as well. Now, if this image is not coming out right, because the minifigures themselves, one thing you have to understand that one of them is really white, and because one of them is super white, depending where you put the light source in, it's actually washing itself out. And because of that, one of the things you can actually do here is to use a different background. In this specific case, we're going for all black background. It doesn't look too black right now because I have so much light sourcing shining right into it. First thing you're going to be doing, as you're going to be taking a picture of this, make sure you arrange them in a way that you actually want to. Arrangement has a lot to do with how the picture is actually going to come out. So after you put them in the way you want to, now it's time for you to go ahead and put the light source in a way that's going to make them look a lot more amazing. As you can see, if you have too much lights, it's not going to look right. So one thing you want to do is to make sure as you're lining up your camera, you're going to be using different kind of directions to take an amazing picture. So one thing we're going to be doing is just making sure we're going to be moving our camera in different kind of directions. Instead of moving the light source around, you're actually going to be moving the camera around until we find a very good angle of the item, and then snap a picture of it. And then when you take a picture of it and it looks pretty good, that's how it's going to look like. Unfortunately, I did capture a little bit of the background on this side here. Because of that, you have to move the minifigures a little bit closer around. So the background right here is not going to actually be seen in the picture. Let's snap another image right here, move it a little bit higher so it looks so much better, and take a picture. Let's go ahead, take a look at the shot, and it came out pretty well, but not perfect. What went wrong here? Well, the picture came out the way it's supposed to be, except a little bit of reflection on the top of this minifigure. In fact, as I'm adjusting right now the actual brightness of my camera, I can see that this image came out pretty well. The only problem is here on the side here, and this could be easily fixed using iPhoto. Everything else pretty much came out well, except this one right here. And as we keep on zooming in, we're going ahead and examining for pixelated damage to the image. And sometimes you have those spots right here as well, so any small spot that is imperfection will also have to be removed using iPhoto.
In this video, we are going to go into how to use flash photography to get not great, but actually amazing pictures. So first thing is first, you want to make sure you're focusing on the actual image
And now you're going to go all the way where it says HDR. You're going to be turning it to actually on. You have to do this every single time, because every time you restart the camera, it actually resets all the functions. Let's press on the flash. We want it to be actually on. Now we are going to be aiming at the picture, and the next thing we're going to be doing is pressing on photo and going to take the picture. Here we just did it. We're going to press on it and examine it. As you can see here, it's a little bit dark on this side. To fix this problem, I'm going to be using an actual flashlight to shine extra light into this image. And now we actually don't need the actual flash. So let's go ahead and turn this off and take the picture. And let's go and turn it on and take a picture with it on as well. And now let's go ahead and see the difference. The problem is that on one side it's a little bit dark than on the other, specifically here. So what we're going to be doing is making sure we line this up differently in a different direction. Now we're going to be taking the picture. And here it is. It comes out much better looking. We can add the flash to it as well. Press on the flash. Press it on. And now let's take a picture. It focuses and takes it with a flash photography. It's also dark over here, but you can tell that the flash itself made a lot of the scene itself a little bit more brighter than it was, but it also highlighted some features. Now, having extra light in the image sometimes is not actually a good idea. As you can see with flash photography, it wasn't necessary at this point because I have an external source of light here. I'm using this Nebo light to light it up. Now, if we have something else that we are taking pictures, such as this, the image itself becomes a lot more complicated to take a picture of. The light from upstairs is reflected right on this. So to fix this issue, we're going to be using a canopy to actually prevent the big source of light to shine in here. As you can see, here is the light source that we are trying to avoid. But to prevent this specific source of light from ruining your image, there's two ways for you to do this. One is to use Photoshop to go ahead and patch it up. The second solution for this is to turn on external light and see if that's gonna make it go away from shining it in different directions. Sometimes it works. In this specific case, this is not working. So we have to use the third solution, is to use a canopy. So here is a piece of canopy that I'm using from the top, and you just have to wait until you find the perfect location right over it so it doesn't mess up the image, but at the same exact time it actually contributes to the image itself. Next thing you can actually do is to fix the highlight of your screen and to make it much more brighter. By making it more brighter, the image itself is going to come out so much more better. So once you line up the canopy in a perfect position, and now it is no longer reflecting on the surface of this special object, it is now time for you to snap a picture. The most important thing when you're snapping the picture is to make sure that the camera itself doesn't become part of the actual object. Right now you can actually see reflected on this side of the actual object itself. because this object is so reflective, you have to be super careful to make sure that the reflections are all to a minimum. So when you're going to be taking the picture, you have to do it not close by, because it's going to be part of the image. You have to do it from farther away and to use your zoom skills instead. In this specific case, what we have to do is to zoom into the actual picture. But the most important thing you have to do is to move the actual camera away as far as you can from the subject. And next thing we have to do is to put the canopy right over it. So now the camera itself doesn't reflect everything. Before we go about and snap this picture, we're going to be pressing on the timer and doing it for 10 seconds. Now we're going to be pressing on photo. So we have 10 seconds to go. We're going to be covering this up, and now we're waiting. There we go. Let's go ahead and take a look. The object itself came out pretty well, but came out a bit darker than it should have on the sides, and a little bit too much reflection over here, which means we have to do this all over again. Now this is not going to be an easy process, because this object is so highly reflective. It actually means that we have to do it multiple amount of times until we finally get this image correct. After you take multiple pictures of the same exact object, eventually one of the pictures is going to come out so much better than the rest of them. This one still has a little bit of reflection, and to fix this we have to go back to iPhoto and edit the imperfections out. This sums up what you have to do to get amazing pictures using your iPhone. And now I want to cover how to take close-up pictures with your phone. The best thing about taking close-up pictures is, first of all, to line up your phone exactly how you want to take the picture of. Then you're going to be taking your finger and pressing on the area that you want to actually focus on. So just press on it just like this, and it's going to make it much brighter in the location that you're pressing on. So actually you can make a different kind of brightness in the picture itself. I do suggest for you to usually focus somewhere in the middle, because it's going to give you the best possible image. Once you're ready to take the shot, all you have to do is to press on the shutter button. But as you press on it, be super careful, because if you press on it too hard, this thing might actually move just a little bit, and that is more than enough to mess up the image. There is two different things you have to understand when you take pictures with the phone. One, you can put it a lot more farther away, and then you can just drag this in and zoom into the image. The next option for you is just to move your phone to zoom into the image itself instead, and come as close as you can to it. This is the other option for you, and let's take a picture. Because you're doing it in those two different ways, it's going to give it some distortion, and you want it to be as real life as possible. And because of that, if you're not using the zoom feature, you're preventing most distortions and pixelating from actually happening. So I mostly suggest for you not to use the digital zoom, and instead just use your camera to zoom into whatever you want to take a picture of, and then just press on take a photo. When you're taking images with your smartphone, a few things you have to do. First off, make sure you look at what kind of things you want to do. There is actually video, there is photo. That's one of the few selections you have. Now, there is a flash selection that you can actually use to take an image using the flash feature itself, and it's not really that effective because the flash itself is pretty small. It's not going to light up the room this much. So what you might have to do is to use an external flashlight. You might actually just use a regular flashlight to make the image itself a little bit more bright. That's one of my tips to you. Another one is when you take a picture, you don't have a tripod, and the image a lot of times could come out blurry. So make sure you don't shake the camera, because when you shake the camera, the image comes shakeable as well, and it's not gonna look good. So to make sure you take a good image, just place it on something. A lot of times just the surface itself is gonna put the image and stabilize it. So when you take a picture of something, make sure the phone itself is resting on something solid, and then you take the image, just press on. As you can see, I made the big mistake of putting my hand right over the lens. You definitely don't want to do this. Another tip for you is when you take the image itself, you want to have everything up here. So when you're taking this image, everything should be showing up, not just a little bit of the leg. So you want to have the whole entire person right here we are taking a picture of. Next thing is to focus. A lot of times with the smartphone, all you have to do is press on the item itself that you want to focus, and pressing in the middle usually is going to give you the best possible focus. Now another one is for you to spin the item around. By spinning it a little bit around, the shadows from the top varies and it changes a little bit. So you want to make sure the light itself from external sources, you're getting the best possible light for your image itself, and then what you have to do is take the picture. So now we are going to have a much better image here than before. So those are the few things you have to do to make and take amazing picture with your smartphone camera. And now we're going to be starting with basic iPhone photography. So we have the grid over here, and if you keep on pressing with both your fingers, you can actually zoom into the image. If you're too close, not only you will see more camera shake, the picture itself can also come out blurry as well. So you don't actually supposed to go and get too close to the image. There's two ways for you to actually zoom. One way is to use your both fingers and zoom in and then press on the image itself. This is for macro photography. Another way is to just move your phone very close to the item you're taking a picture of. This item is a little bit too small, and I suggest for you to use something a little bit much larger to take a picture of. So this one is a little bit larger, and you can zoom into it. Notice the grid itself helps you focus the image and make it so much better. So when you're focusing, make sure the item is in focus. Press on the item itself so you're getting the focus to actually go ahead and focus into the area that you want to focus in. Once the Lego minifigure is actually in focus, press on and take a picture. After you take a picture, press on the picture itself and take a look at what you actually did. Then you want to zoom in and see if it is pixelated or not, and if everything is in focus. If it comes out pretty well, you should keep the image. In this specific case, one image came out pretty good, the other one came out slightly blurry. And since I'm a perfectionist, I want only the best possible images. So this one is gonna actually go ahead and get removed. Let's go ahead and examine some pictures that I took previously, and those have been taken with HDR help. So as you can see, there is multiple images of the same identical thing. The reason why multiple images are so great is that sometimes when you take a picture, one image comes out much more brighter than the other. And there's other slight variations in it as well. Because there is so many slight variations in the picture, and because you snap the picture a second later, you might actually take a different picture within a few seconds. This is why it's so important for you to keep snapping pictures. And if you find something that looks amazing, take more than one image at the same exact time. Let's take a look here at what happened. One of the images is much darker than the other. And I think the bright one just gives it a different kind of an effect. Whereas if you look at the dark one, it gives it a slightly more darker feeling to it as well. So actually both of those pictures came out pretty good, but they give it a slightly different kind of a feeling when you look at it. Now as you zoom in, you can see this one is a little bit slightly more pixelated. And then if you look at the second images, you can see this one is slightly less pixelated. And now, next thing, let's take a look at how it looks on the big screen. So by clicking with your finger a few times, you can see the whole image on the iPhone. And then you want to zoom in as much as you can to take a look if it got pixelated or not. Now, the reason why this image is a bit more pixelated than most images that I take is that I already zoomed in when I took the picture. As you're zooming in, you're using digital zoom. And because you're using digital zoom, the picture becomes a lot more pixelated. On the other hand, this picture right here, I didn't zoom in. I took it as it was with the phone itself. As we keep on zooming into the actual image, you can see it's not as pixelated as the previous image. And it came out so much better. And here are two different pictures taken at the same exact time. Because we are using HDR, one of them came out much brighter than the other one, which came out much darker. And there is actually a third image that looks almost identical. Here's another one of the actual power station that I took before. This one is slightly zoomed in as well, and I do suggest for you to take multiple images of the same exact item or whatever scenery that you have. As you take multiple images, one of them is going to come out better than the other. It's always better to take multiple images of the same exact thing, because you just never know which one is going to come out to be amazing. In this specific case here, as I was taking the image, you can see a vehicle is zooming in and is coming right toward me. As I was so busy taking pictures, I didn't really notice the car coming in. You gotta be super careful when you take pictures because of this specific case. And here is another picture just like it, and you can tell the big difference within a few seconds. There was no vehicle, and another one, there's a vehicle just coming right through it. As you keep on looking, you can see a few other slight variations and differences in though. The building itself is a lot more brighter in this image. In this one, it is slightly more darker. The clouds make a big difference, and within every few seconds, the clouds make either the picture look more dark or bright, and therefore, with the iPhone, this makes it very interesting, phenomenal when you take a picture. By taking multiple images, I ensure that one of them is going to come out just perfect. Here you can see a beautiful cloud, and in this one I zoomed in all the way to it, so the emphasis of the cloud is right in the image itself. And over here you can see a school building, at the top of it a lot of clouds. As I was driving by, I saw this, what would be a magnificent kind of an image. And I have decided to stop by and start taking a few pictures of the scenery. It is very important for you, once you find a very beautiful scenery, you have to keep coming to it multiple amount of times. You just never know when the scenery itself is going to change so dramatically. Specifically, the clouds themselves is what makes this image so much more beautiful. Therefore, the clouds are 100% what makes this image either very beautiful or just plain regular picture. Right here you can see a small image error. What is it? Well, I put my finger right on the camera, and it's very easy to do this with the iPhone. So I do suggest for you to be super extreme careful when you are taking a picture, not to accidentally put something in front of the lens, because it's very hard to see it with the phone itself. And here is another image that I made a mistake in. So it even happens with professionals. As I'm so busy focusing so much on the actual picture, sometimes you get lost in it and you forget some basic things such as that. Here you can see the first image that I saw as I was driving right through the field, and I have decided it's time for me to stop by and take a picture of it. Another thing I do suggest for you to do is not to just take a picture from one specific location, is to go through this area and see if you can take pictures from multiple different places going around the same exact building. Because this is how I was able to get some of those amazing pictures, and they were just taken with a simple iPhone.
So let's get started with simple editing of your image on your camera. So once I go ahead and took a picture, and you can see I took multiple pictures to see which one is the best one. So one of them was no flash, another one was with the flash itself, and you can see with the live image it actually moved. Next one is also with just live, and it just came out too dark. So I used an external light eventually, and I got the best possible image. Now it is time for us to go ahead and edit the image. Press on edit right here, and now we can change the different styles. So you can see just by pressing on the different styles, you can figure out which one you want to do. Press on this one, and now we're going to be choosing the specific color for this image from the themes: dramatic, dramatic warm, dramatic cool, mono, which is actually black and white photography. I don't suggest people to take black and white pictures to begin with. You can always convert a colorful picture to a black and white. You can never convert a picture you take black and white to become colorful. This is why it's always better for you to use filters to convert any picture to be a black and white image. So dramatic cool seems to be probably the best shot here, except the vivid cool I think looks so much more better. Next thing, press right here, and now let's go ahead and see how much of the image needs to be framed. So you want to frame almost the entire image. See right here, there's a lot of white space that we don't need, and we still need some of it on the side. The next thing we're going to be doing is pressing on done. Next thing, we have this tool right here. Press on it, it's going to enhance this specific image. And then when you're done, you can press on done. Let's go back, press on edit here, press on enhance once again. And now you have all those great choices for you. Press on right, and we can go ahead and change all those little things in the picture. As you can see, it's much more brighter here. Press on done, press on edit once again, press on here. You can change the color scheme of the image. Press on done once again, press on edit. We have black and white, we have colorful, and we have the light. Let's press on light. Let's add the shadows. And remember, you have to go all the way to the extremes to see what happens to the image, and then just go a little bit to choose the one you actually want. Let's go back to it, press on done, and now we're going back into the image itself and seeing which one is best for us. Let's press on white again. It has to be very bright. Press on done. Press on edit once again. Go to the colorful one. Go to saturation. Saturate the color. Make it really pretty. Make sure you always press done so it saves it. Now it becomes super yellow on the side here. You have to get rid of it. Press over here. Press on white. And there. It is much more whiter now. And press on done. You see, it becomes now almost the same color as the screen itself, and that is very important when you're doing images. Press on edit once again, and over here when you press on this button right there, there is more options for you to use. So let's go ahead and use the scribble tool, and now you're going to be choosing the tool you want to use. Let's press on this one, for example, and here is how dark the image is going to be right there.
And then all you have to do is press on the screen, and now you're scribbling right on it. You can go ahead, get very close to it, and do small scribbles on the actual image. So that's how you're going to be adding some special effects to the image that you actually did. Now if you don't like it, just press on here and you're going to be deleting them all. There we go. And this one too. Another thing you can do here is pressing on plus, and it's going to give you the option of doing a few things. One is add some text, one is add and use magnifier. It is like this, and if you want to make it small, you can actually do that as well. Here we go, and we can actually pretend this guy is talking. Move it right here. That's going to be coming out right out of his mouth, which is kind of cool. Another thing you can do is press on plus, press on signature, and we're going to be removing my old one, delete, and adding a new signature. Make one that looks like that. Press on done. Now we have an actual signature. So if you want to copyright your images, every single one that you create, you add the signature, put it on the side, and then what you have to do is press on done. So pretty much those are all the basic things that you can do to edit your picture on the phone. For extra processing, you need to use iPhoto. So let's go ahead and modify the iPhotos that I actually took. And over here there is a little bit of damage to them. Now one thing I don't like about using live photo is that it specifically makes the live images not this easy to modify. So if you press on edit right here, you can't actually edit them using iPhoto. So those kind of images are like mini movies. They're okay when you just view them, they're interesting to view, but they're totally useless for photography. So with dynamic image processing, one image becomes a lot more darker, while another one is much more brighter and using kind of different kind of shade of light. So this is great, by the way, and you can see there's two images here as well. And now there's ways to make any image look a lot better. Now if you want to learn more, you have to take a look at my full class about iPhoto editing. So over here we're going to be doing some quick adjustments to this. First thing you want to do is to press on quick fixes, press on retouch. Now we want to blend in the top of the screen with the bottom, just like this. And using this retouch tool, we just pressed on it. Now I totally got rid of all this mess on the top. Now you want to use it as small as you can, not as big as you can, because otherwise if you use it too big, you have a little smudge sometimes. Now in this specific case with this background, it's not really necessary, and you can use it in many different locations, and the size shouldn't make that much of a difference, but you can a little bit tell that it got smudged over here. So if you don't want to get it too smudged, I suggest for you to move it to the smallest size possible. Then once you go over, hover the area that you want to take and fix, you want to use this on the side, drag it all the way to the area that you want to fix, and then you want to make sure that this tool is as small as possible, just to take care of the issue itself. And that makes the image so much more professional. Next thing we're going to be doing is getting rid of the smudge on the top of the head of those minifigures. So make it as small as we can, move it into the location that needs to be fixed, make sure the tool is right the same size as the thing that you have to fix, and just hover over it, and then go over a little bit on the side of it too, so it blends right into it. Now we're gonna examine. This minifigure has also a little bit of light smudged into it. Now we're gonna be moving it like this, and now we fixed it and made it all in one. Right here, this one looks okay. This one has it too. And we are doing quick fixes and removal. And we have it right here as well. So let's go ahead and go over it and fix it too. The helmet also has it as well here, but I think this one is going to be very carefully fixed, because if you do it wrong, it's actually going to make it look much more worse and give it a lot more damage. So you have to understand that sometimes it's much better not to touch. So you have to be a little bit careful when you do something like this in certain locations. Sometimes fixing them is not the best choice, and others you just have to be a little bit careful when you do it. So here we go, we fixed it, we made it a little bit better. And the ones that are going too close to this might not be the best to fix them over here. Now let's go ahead, zoom out, and we can see a little bit more. We missed as well. Let's move it here and fix it too. So now that we fixed the basics in this photo, let's go ahead, press on adjust and move the levels and change it around. So now I'm going to make it a little bit darker. Press on retouch, and there's a few areas I think we missed here too. Let's go over them and just press on each and every one of them instead. Press on effects and see if the cooler one makes it better. Press on adjust and check out the exposure. Remember, if you move it all the way to the side, and sometimes you will get very good image, sometimes you don't. A little bit more contrast to it. Move this a little bit around. And now add some saturation to it as well, just a little bit. And change the temperature just a bit around too. And now the finishing touch, press on clap, move it a little bit closer just to highlight what is the focus of the image, and press on done. So now it looks so much more better than before. It's not perfect, and the reason for that, the picture itself in the beginning was not perfect as well. But you're trying to make the picture as good as you possibly can with using the tools on hand. Now if you press on enhance, you can see how it actually looked like previously. Sometimes enhance makes it look so much more better, and other times it actually makes the picture so much worse. And it's all about balance. Now if you want to go ahead and make even more professional edits, you should go and do it with Photoshop. This is just good to get some basic edits in. Oh, and welcome everyone, and I'm sure you're very excited about this brand new opportunity for you to get started as an iPhoto photographer and contributor. And the first thing you have to understand is that for you to get started with stock photography, you gotta apply and become a stock photographer. For you to become a stock photographer, you gotta join a stock photography company, and one of which is Getty Images. It's one of the first ones that was ever created, and it emerged with iStock Photo, creating one of the largest marketplaces in the world for stock photography. So the first step for you is to scroll all the way to the bottom of the screen when you go to gettyimages.com and press where it says career. So keep on scrolling all the way down until you're going to see the opportunity for us, which is right here all the way in the bottom. Become a contributor, and press here where it says what it takes. And now it actually says here that you can be an existing contributor and you can become a stock photographer for this location, and you can actually choose the career you actually want. So work with us being a contributor. You can apply right here. You can become a award-winning photographer, filmmakers, or anything you want. And to apply and to become a contributor, they need information from you. You have to be at least 18 years old and then upload content pictures, which actually is just your name, email, and then of course add a few images. You have to have at least 3 GB size file, and that's about it. You have to wait 30 days, and then if they like what they get, they will approve of you to become a contributor to them. So after you go through and do this step, the next thing you want to do is to figure out what kind of images that they're looking for, and of course what kind of images you should be posting. And to do that, we're going to go ahead and explore some of the images that I have created myself and I've been contributing to the iStock photography community. So here is two of my boards of iStock photography, the ones that actually got accepted, which is and involves upstate New York and wildlife photography. Those are the ones that they actually approve out of thousands of images that I have created, and out of which a lot of them have been rejected. Keep that in mind, they only want the best possible images and they have so many other people who you're competing against. So you have to be at your best top A game in order for you to get accepted. Let's take a look at one of the boards right here. This is the upstate New York photography board. And in this board, I have a few images for you to show you, and I will go into details why every single one of those is just amazing. So the first one is this specific image right here. And this one is of course owned by iStock. As you can see right here, iStock by Getty Images. And all the trademark and everything else about this is right all over it. So nobody can go ahead and of course steal this image and use it for their own purposes. Unless of course you buy all rights or exclusive rights to this specific image. So what makes this image so great here? One of which is the person who is standing on top of this lake right there. And of course, this whole entire place is totally blank. There is no other humans around, and it gives it a dimensional feeling. And the only way you get a dimensional feeling is if you have a human represented somewhere in the picture. So always when you do this, when you take a picture and you don't need a model release for a person you can't actually recognize as well. And this comes with the standard license. So always look at competitor images just in case you want to create competition images instead and contribute to the stock photography collection. So this is just one out of many different pictures that I took. Let's explore other pictures and find out what makes them so great. Next one is the snow one right here. So this is a classic inside of the middle of the actual winter. What makes it so great is just the perspective over here. And the way it is actually taking, you can see there's two different roads on two different sides. And you can see one is going this way and another one going the other way. And then of course you can see the trees, and it gives you the perspective of how actual snow looks like, and it gives you a lot of background as well. And yet there is no vehicles on the road. So that's another very great picture, and they definitely accepted this one too. Here's another one. This is actually a picture of downtown Albany from upstate New York observation deck, which actually comes from a huge mountain. So you go all the way on top of the mountain, which is on Tetra Park, and from the top of the mountain you can see Albany, New York from a distance. And here it is, the whole entire skyscrapers, and that's actually the only skyscrapers we have in this small town. And from the top of it you can see how small it is compared to everything else. Plus there's mountains, and the way this image actually makes it so great is that the whole entire downtown is far away from a distance, and yet you can see very nice mountains on the side as well. So it gives it a huge, very awesome perspective, and they definitely accepted this image to be one of those. They always look for the best possible, best in class, and best top images, and you can see more of them right here. So this one right here, we have the bridge, and the bridge itself is going from one area of New York to another one. And what makes this picture so great is just the details of the bridge itself, plus the background in it. Anybody can take a picture of the bridge, but I found a unique location to take this picture from. I actually drove around to a place that almost nobody actually drives to, and I took this picture from that specific location. So there's a lot of pictures of a bridge and a bridge like it, but there is only one or very few pictures of a bridge just looks like this from this perspective. So if you have a different kind of perspective that you can get an image quality from, definitely take a look for that. Here's one over here that you actually walk across a very small bridge, and it takes a perspective of that. Over here there is an abandoned factory at Pebbles Island. Almost nobody ever visits this specific location, and the image itself just speaks volume, and I took a very nice image of that place. So here is a few more interesting wide angle pictures. And what makes this picture so great is just I pretty much zoom in into this haystack, and you can see very small bunch of haze all around and all the way in the back over there. And here's the big stack of hay. And that makes it a very nice image, just because I focus so much on one thing inside the image, but then in the background you can see a bunch of different haystacks all rolled into one. Now this is a very unusual picture because you can't actually see this every single day. The next picture I like, and I really enjoyed, and I posted it up here and they like it as well, is of a partially burned tree. So this tree was actually set on fire by a specific burn. They actually set those woods on fire almost every single year to control the burn and to make sure that the specific pine bushes always get preserved, and the only way they get preserved is by fires. So they set them all on fire, and this tree was half set on fire a while back, and I took a picture of it, of course, after it was set on fire. That is who knows how long, maybe a few months after the fire itself passed through, but this looks like a very unusual and a beautiful picture of a tree, pine tree. The next one over here, and this one is also interesting, is also a Tetra Park, but this one is a view from a different kind of location, and you can see the perspective over here of the park itself, and plus you can see all the very nice background and grass just going right in the back here too, which gives it a perspective to the image. Every single time you want to take a picture, you want to have perspective to it. It gives it more of a clear ability to find out how the image is actually made, and plus it gives it more of a background feeling to the image itself, such as over here where we have observation deck of Tetra Park. And you can see the observatory right here that you can use to look up things in the distance. And the funny thing about this is that you actually pay them a little bit of money, and then you can use and look through this and see everything super magnified. At the same time, it gives it a perspective of size. And you can see the rocks over here, and then you can see the background over there, and now you can see how far away the actual capital city is, all the way in the back. So I don't use zoom for this picture, and I let it stand as is. In this specific picture right here, you can see what I did here. It is pretty simple, but at the same time you would actually need a wide angle lens. With a super wide angle lens, I was able to take a picture of the flag itself flying over here, and there was thousands of different flags all over the place, but this one gives it a very unique picture of the flag flying in front of a bunch of different clouds, and that makes this picture an award-winning for them, and they liked it enough for them to go ahead and use it as stock image photography. In this specific one, we have a tree growing on top of a cliff, and it's almost about as if it's gonna actually drop down it. Because of that, and because of how unique this actually looks like, they definitely decide to include this in their stock photography library. Another picture that I do suggest for you to check out or to try to take a picture of is of something abandoned. Here is an abandoned building in the middle of nowhere next to an airport. Now, I don't know why they specifically never decided to get rid of this building, but this one is super old. It's probably from the 1800s. It is a very old building that has been super abandoned, and it looks kind of very interesting. So I decided to take a picture of it, and I contributed to the iStock portion of Getty Images. Here we have the boat and a deck of a boat, and here is the whole island and the bridge. Here we have just a window picture of upstate New York. Here is one where I have changing leaves in Grafton Park. Here I have a natural staircase at the Pine Bush Resort. What makes this image so great in itself is just the perspective. You can see that you can walk up those paths and you can walk up on it, and it just looks like a three-dimensional image. And because of that, I decided to take this picture, and they easily took it as a stock image photography. One thing you want to keep in mind when you're taking pictures for stock image photographer, you want to make sure the images are unique and different. Even if there are so many different other images made of the same exact image, you can still take another one. But make sure there is something different spin to this, such as this one. There was a lot of images taken of the capital region and of those tall buildings, but there was probably not one of them that actually had those different lights in it. This one has, as you can see, all the way at the top very bright, and all the way on the bottom very dark. This is very unusual kind of picture, having such a differential between white and black all in one image.
because it looks so much unusual and different, they decided to accept it to the stock photography library. Another thing that you can do is wildlife photography. Wildlife photography is just as good, but over here you want to see and get scenes that you usually don't really see with animals. So a few things when you're taking pictures of actual animals, you want to use super zoom. If you use super zoom, you'll be able to take a picture such as this. Well, I have a squirrel as if it's looking right at me. The only way I can get a picture this close is if I have a super zoom lens, which I do. So I was able to get a very close picture of some animals you would never ever be able to get close to them, close enough to get those pictures. Another one is a moose through a zoo. This one is of a wild bird, and this one is also pretty much very interesting, and it is super close as well. So they don't have an image this close of an animal. That's why they decided that they're going to use mine. Here's one of the African cane in Maui, Hawaii. This one right here is of the pine bush in the natural preserve of the white butterfly, which is very, very hard for you to find. This specific one is Alaska seagulls, and here is more of them, including this one right here, which is more seagulls, and here is a pair of geese. So any picture of animal that you can get, and you can get super close to it, use a zoom camera. It is highly suggested, and for your own safety, of course. So all those images right here are some of my best and interesting work that I have decided I should be contributing to stock image photography. This specific one was not really accepted, not because it's not a good image, just because the image quality was not up to standard. So one thing you want to do before you go ahead and use the image that you want and give it to them, make sure you super zoom in and see if it is pixelated or not. And in this one you can see a lot of really bad pixels right here. So the quality of this image is just not good enough. And when you have something like this, it means that you can't contribute this one. This specific one is also one of my best images, but at the same exact time, the quality is not there. It's just too dark. So if you have a picture that is too dark, you can either try to brighten it using edit scene. And if this doesn't work for you and you can't brighten it up, you won't be able to go ahead and give it to them. Next is this picture right here. Also, this is very nice work, but it's also been pixelated, and you can see right here when you super zoom in here. Here's another one of the subway. I really like this one too. The same problem with here is as well, it is also super pixelated, so we can't use that one. Another super pixelated picture, but it is a classical one. Here's one. I really like this image. Unfortunately, because of the effects, this picture is not gonna actually go ahead and they're gonna accept it. Also, you can see in the background there is blurry motion in here. Because it's blurry all over here and over there, they're not gonna accept this image. Here's another very nice picture right here, but it's a little bit overblown, and you can see the haze in the background. Now, if this picture was a little bit better, it would have actually worked, but it's not. So we have to skip that one as well. This one also suffering from the same exact problem, which is the lights. It's not bright enough. So every single time you look through an image, you want to make sure that the image itself is perfect. It doesn't need to be okay. It has to be top notch, the best picture that can be. And any specific problem with the image itself, such as lights, not bright enough, too dark, it's gonna get disqualified right away. This one is a great picture too, but there was a lot of blurry things in this tree. So this tree is a little bit too blurry. They're not gonna like this and they won't accept it. This one is also having very similar issues over here, where it gets a little too dark and blurry too. This specific one, I like this image, but there is too much dark and there is too much noise in this background right here. This is totally unnecessary, all this stuff right here. And of course, if this was taken at a better time of the year, this picture would have been amazing. This one they did accept. This one they should have actually accepted, and I do like this specific image. It can be adjusted just a little bit,
And if it is adjusted and made so much better, they will definitely accept this image. So we have to work through Photoshop and try to get this picture to be a little bit better. This specific one right here is very nice image, by the way, and I do like it. And this one right here, you can see that this one is nearly perfect. There's nothing almost wrong with this specific image, so definitely this is a picture that I should be contributing to them. There's not much that is going on in this specific picture, and there are a lot of the bad background in the back that gives it super black darkness. This one right here, we have an issue with this mountain. Now, the biggest problem with this image is that there is too much dark and there is a little bit of brightness right here. And of course, it's just the way this picture actually went about, it could have been so much better. And since it didn't, it's not gonna work for us. This one is a little bit better, and I zoom in more into the image, showing the different contrast between dark and white, especially when it comes with the sun. Although this is an interesting image, and I think this one they will actually accept because it is just such unusual and interesting picture. This one, on the other hand, is just too dark, and I probably won't be able to edit everything in here. So let's try it out. And when you try to edit this, unfortunately what happens, it takes away from the quality of the image itself, and when you go inside, you can see how pixelated this image actually gets. So they will definitely reject it. So you have to make sure the image itself is almost perfect, and then you should go ahead and try to submit those images, because only perfect images are going to get accepted with iStock photography. They want the best and only the best. Therefore, if you think the picture has any issues whatsoever, you should definitely not use that image. You should reject it right away. This one right here is one of my best pictures to date. I like it, I like the background, I like the way it actually looks, and in this specific case, the black background makes this picture actually looks amazing. So there you have it, all kinds of different images of how you can go ahead and make sure which is the images you should go and contribute to the stock image photography collection.